Previous video I talked about how to progress to a single leg stance while you're on a solid surface. In this one I'm going to bring in an Airex pad, or in this case it's a ProSource pad. You don't have to necessarily use something like this. It could be like a couch cushion, anything that can make it a little bit harder to stand on. So it's something that's a little bit softer, maybe a pillow, something of that lines. But like the other one, we're going to start with just a normal stance. So feet kind of underneath your hips and stand there. To progress it, we're going to go a little bit closer in and then eventually towards feet together. If this is a challenge, stay here. But if you can stand here comfortably and there's not a whole lot of movement through that ankle, but maybe a little bit of a challenge, then you can do that or progress towards a little bit more of a split stance. So now we're going to make that base of support a little bit narrower. One foot's going to be kind of in front of the other, trying to keep that front foot stable. Progressing a little bit more, you could go to a tandem stance, or to further that, we could go to a single leg stance. So it's going to be harder to maintain your balance while on this non-compliant surface or this Airex pad or whatever you're using. If that's too challenging, you can put just like a toe down, but it really changes the game once you take that toe up or touch it down. From there, you can go to things like a split squat. Again, trying to make sure it's not something where the ankle is moving around too much. A little bit's okay, we want some challenge. Or into thing like a little bit of a single leg squat. Now that would be kind of towards the end of things. You don't necessarily have to go all the way down either. You could do just a little one and see how it reacts. But I want you to try finding a variation that is challenging, but not something that's going to create excessive movement through the ankle. But we want to develop a little bit of that ability of the body to stand in that unstable environment, using a little bit more of the body sense to control the movement. If you haven't progressed through the first one, be cautious about stepping into this one, but we really want to look at symptoms. So if this flares up symptoms at the time of doing it, or that night or the next day, then we probably did too much. We want to stay at that 0 to 2 or 3 out of 10 out of pain range or less. If you get to that 3 to 5 out of 10 pain, watch how it goes that night or the next day. It may not be a reason to stop, but if it really flares things up that night or the next day, then we need to regress back to a previous variation, either the less time or an easier variation. If you're at a 5 out of 10 pain or more, stop, pick a different variation and come back to it later. But we want to pick something that's challenging, makes the ankle and the hip work a little bit, but also not so much where symptoms start increasing. So let me know if you have any questions.